What is up, guys? JT Anime Nerd here, bringing you all that nerdy goodness. And today I'm going to give you the full story of my Batman v Superman and revision, both part 1 and part 2 together to create the full story. Now, the main reason I'm doing this is because, well, I'm still having a hard time writing my Man of Tomorrow movie, and so at this point I have to say, hey, combined with my personal life and with the fact that I want to expand all my horizons besides just DC, that the my Man of Tomorrow pitch is going to be delayed, and I can't give an exact day because I really want to get the story right. And on top of that, like I said, Ed, I want to expand my horizons of content to not just the Snyderverse, but to all kinds. Like I've just done a Spyro the Dragon video, a TV show concept, and it's been doing pretty great. So I've been wanting to explore that, and there's a whole bunch of stuff I want to do. So I thought for now to make up for it, I could get if you guys just the full story of this rewrite, but I promise I will be writing the Man of Tomorrow pitch movie while I'm working all this, and it will come out. I'm not gonna stop writing my version of the Snyderverse. I promise you guys I would be at this until we get to Justice League 3. It's just gonna take a while. I can't say for sure when, but it will happen. So until then, enjoy this video. Check you guys later. The story begins with the funeral of Martha and Thomas Wayne, the parents of Bruce Wayne, who is just a little kid at this point. Bruce runs away from Alfred, distraught at losing his parents, not being able to take the grief. We then get a flashback of Bruce, Thomas, and Martha leaving the theater together, seemingly happy. Back in the present, Bruce continues to run through the woods, with the flashback returning to the moment Bruce and his parents were held up at gunpoint by none other than Jack Oswald White, who would one day be known as the Joker, the Clown Prince of Crime. As Bruce continues running through the woods, the flashback then shows Thomas Wayne attempting to save his wife and son, only for Jack to fire on the instinct of fear. Bruce in the present then falls into a boarded up hole, with the flashback then showing Martha attempting to defend Bruce from the gunman, only for Jack to pull the trigger by accident due to the struggle. As Bruce in the present falls to the bottom of the cave, the flashback shows Bruce yelling in sorrow at the death of his mother, with Jack running with an expression of sorrow and fear at what he had done. Thomas Wayne would reach out to his wife, uttering his last words, "Martha," as the life from her eyes die out and pieces of her pearl necklace fall into the sewer. Back in the present, Bruce awakens to find a cave filled with countless bats. The bats then react to Bruce's presence and circle around him, seemingly lifting him up back to the surface, through the hole he fell through. It was from then on Bruce knew what he had to be: fear itself. Many years later, during the invasion of General Zod, Bruce Wayne would go to Metropolis and contact a man, coincidentally named Jack, to evacuate the building he's in. Meanwhile, Bruce is driving amongst the chaos, debris falling everywhere as he drives to the building his colleagues remain in until Bruce encounters a crowd of people. Bruce exits the car, witnessing the actions of the destruction of the World Engine as the ship Lois and company were on go straight into it, causing an implosion. Meanwhile, Superman and Zod's battle enter the building Bruce's colleague Jack is in. Bruce turns a corner, trying to contact Jack, but witnesses Zod's heat vision destroy the building. Jack then begins to pray as the building comes down on him, killing him in the process. Bruce attempts to run toward the building, despite its destruction. As Bruce roams through the smoke of the building's collapse, he witnesses the casualties of Superman's battle with Zod, encountering an employee of his named Wallace, whose legs have been permanently shattered by fallen debris. Bruce and others help Wallace, but then Bruce acts to save a little girl from more falling debris. Bruce then asks the girl where her mother is, to which the girl just points at the building Zod just destroyed. As Bruce embraces the little girl to comfort her, he then sees Superman and Zod falling toward the train station, with nothing but hatred for Superman in his eyes, forever blaming Superman for the almost imminent destruction of Metropolis. 18 months later, a group of divers in the Indian Ocean dive down to pull out a kind of rock, or meteorite of some sort. The divers bring the rock to a seemingly American man, who then breaks the rock, revealing a kind of green crystal inside of it. Meanwhile, in Nairobi, Africa, Lois Lane meets up with a photographer named Steve Lombard, being there to meet a man named Amajog. Lois and Steve are then transported, taken blindfolded to a secret location where Amajog will meet them. He was accompanied by a man named Anatoly Kinyazev, codenamed KG Beast. Lois interviews Amajog, but KG Beast then decides to break apart Steve's camera due to his suspicion of him, which proves correct due to him finding a tracer in the camera, with KG Beast revealing to Amajog that it's a CIA device and that they're tracking them. Lois pleads her and Steve's innocence to Amajog, but Steve Lombard reveals that he simply used Lois's credentials as a cover. Steve then tells Amajog that he's been authorized to propose an arrangement, but Amajog then shoots Steve dead, not wanting any arrangement. CIA then orders a team they've set up in Africa to stand down while a drone attempts to attack, but the team deny to follow the orders due to civilian casualties. Lois continues to plead her innocence to Amajog. However, KG Beast then looks around as if he's expecting something. He then kills all of Amajog's men, catching Amajog's attention. Believing this to be a rescue, Amajog takes Lois hostage, with KG Beast and his men destroying the army's weapons and mysteriously burning the bodies for some reason. KG Beast and his team then leave to escape, saying to hurry and stating that someone's coming. Meanwhile, the CIA launches their drone strike, ready to kill their enemy despite the casualties. Suddenly, a mysterious figure destroys the missile the drone launched and the drone alongside it, leaving KG Beast with a smile as he escapes. Just then, Superman arrives with Amajog using Lois as a hostage. However, Amajog underestimates Superman's speed, as Superman swiftly grabs Amajog through the wall behind Lois, seemingly beating him without killing him, as is Superman's MO. The team sent by the CIA then enters the village, only to find the burnt bodies of the people that KGB East and his men killed, with Lois alive and well. Back in the U.S., a woman from the village describes the scene of what happened to a woman named Senator Finch, stating that Superman killed the people in her village, seemingly lying in order to turn the world against Superman. Finch states that the committee holds Superman responsible for what happened at the village, with the pleading woman stating that Superman answers to no one, not even in God. Meanwhile, in Gotham City, as two officers are watching a football game, they get a report about a disturbance at a lone house. The officers investigate, where they find a batarang stabbed into the wall. The officers enter the basement, only to find a cage filled with women, revealing them to be victims of human trafficking. The officers try to let the girls out, but they refuse to come out due to their fear of Batman, as he's still dealing with the remaining traffickers. The officers hear the yell of a trafficker and so head back upstairs, hearing more yells from those being attacked by Batman. Just then, the officer finds the only trafficker left chained up to the heater. The officer then turns around to see Batman hanging from the ceiling, shooting him out of instinctual fear, leading Batman to escape. The officer's partner arrives and both look at the trafficker, noticing that he has a brand in the shape of a bat symbol, seemingly knowing what that means. Lois returns to her apartment and tidies up, but when she finds a shirt with blood on it, she begins to feel worried for Clark. Lois then grabs a book she found on presumably Steve's body and pulls out what appears to be some sort of bullet. Moments later, Lois is in the bathtub and Clark arrives, with Lois talking to Clark about being blamed for what happened, with Clark not caring what people think as long as Lois is safe and he stays true to who he is. All the while, Lois wants to understand what truly happened back in Africa. Meanwhile, Bruce returns to the Batcave, with Alfred working on Batman's mask. Bruce and Alfred then discuss KG Beast, as well as discuss Batman's new morally corrupt sense of justice and Superman. Alfred making it clear that the world has changed because of Superman's existence. At a company called LexCorp, Senator Finch meets with Lex Luthor, played by Vincent D'Onofrio, accompanied by Eve Tessmacher, his secretary, and Otis, his intern. Luthor presents the green mineral that was once a piece of the world engine over the Indian Ocean. Otis This would then turn on a monitor, revealing that the government is in possession of the body of General Zod, as well as explain the mineral itself and reveal that it possesses the ability to break Kryptonian skin. Luthor then reveals the sample he found in the Indian Ocean and requests Finch to give him an import license to bring it to LexCorp. Finch questions the idea of weaponizing what would later be known as kryptonite, to which X would explain in a convincing monologue that he wishes to protect humanity from false gods, revealing what many call the metahuman thesis, a thesis that supports the existence of other superpowered beings. Lex then goes on a small rant about how humanity has relied too much on Superman, to which it's become unprepared should he ever turn against the world, and so makes his case as to using kryptonite against any more Kryptonian invaders instead of relying on any other metahumans. Reluctantly, Finch seems to agree, but in exchange, Lex wishes to have unbridled access to the Kryptonian ship and Zod's body for testing. It's shown in slight flash forwards that Lex Luthor used kryptonite to cut a fingerprint from Zod's body so he can access the ship, as well as later enter the site where the ship is being kept. Back at Lois and Clark's apartment, Clark sees an interview with the pleading woman, making Superman look more like the villain every day. Meanwhile, Wallace, from the Metropolis incident, is shown with articles all about Superman and in his home, as well as places a photo of his wife and daughter in front of a memorial listing. He then decides to climb and vandalize a newly made statue of Superman, commemorating his fight against the invading Kryptonians. At the Daily Planet, everyone sees the news report of Wallace getting arrested for vandalizing Superman's statue, branding Superman a false god, as is written on the statue's chest. This news report making everyone, including Clark, Lois, and Jimmy, petrified. Moments later, Clark heads over to Gotham in order to meet with the pleading woman and interview her about Superman. While he gains no knowledge on the pleading woman's whereabouts, he speaks to someone who warns him about the Batman, who's been marking people in order for them to be killed in Gotham Prison. Meanwhile, Bruce is attending an underground street fight where KG Beast is attending. Bruce then speaks to KG Beast, with KG unaware that Bruce is hacking his phone with his own phone. Back at the Daily Planet, Clark tries to convince Perry to run a story about how Gotham's Batman is treating crime, but Perry shrugs it off as a boring story due to Gotham's common reputation of crime being on the daily. Lois then enters the room and presents the bullet she found to Perry, claiming it to be supplied to the enemy to the rebels by the government themselves, giving Lois a chance to chase the story by going to Washington, D.C. Perry then tells Clark to be at a benefit for the library in Metropolis, revealing that someone on the committee requested Clark Kent specifically. Meanwhile, Finch meets with Lex Luthor at his house to tell him that she's denying the import license to bring the kryptonite to LexCorp, as she doesn't like the idea of weaponizing it, as well as have suspicions about Lex's intentions with it. Lex then points out to a painting on his father's mantle, one depicting angels coming from the sky and demons coming from beneath the earth, revealing that it should be the other way around, that devils come from the sky. Back at the Wayne estate, Bruce visits his parents' graves, only to then be haunted by an image of blood coming from their mausoleum, only followed by what looks like an image of Man-Bat to appear before him and try to bite his neck. However, Bruce wakes up to find that it was all a dream, or perhaps a premonition. The next day, Bruce reveals to Alfred that what he found on KG Beast's phone was proof to a connection with Lex Luthor. Alfred then presents Bruce with an invitation to Lex Luthor's house, who is revealed to be the proprietor at the gala for the library of Metropolis. Moments later, Bruce looks at his suit, showing eyes of hatred at it. Bruce then approaches what looks to be the suit of the late Robin, with the Joker's laughter echoing in the background. Robin's suit is spray-painted with the following: "Ha ha ha! Joke's on you, Batman." Bruce then attends the gala, where Clark Kent would take notice. Miss Tessmacher then presents Lex Luthor at the gala. Meanwhile, Bruce spots a particular-looking woman in a dark red dress. Bruce then talks to Alfred via comlink and tries to find his way downstairs into the server room. Bruce has little choice but to return to the party, where he would end up meeting Clark Kent. Both Clark and Bruce share conflicting opinions about Superman and Batman, to which Lex Luthor interrupts. Meanwhile, the data transfer of Lex's data from his servers is complete, to which Bruce would attempt to get it back. However, Bruce would come to find that the device he used to steal the data had been stolen from the Lady in Red. Bruce would give chase, but would be too late as she left in a car. Meanwhile, Clark sees a report about a fire, to which he acts with haste. Moments later, Superman saves a little girl from the fire, to which people around him, who seem to be celebrating Day of the Dead, treat him like a god as they place their hands on him simultaneously. As Superman continues aiding the world in terms of natural disasters, the world begins to question his existence, what he stands for, and what he should be doing. The world is beginning to act as Jonathan Kent expected, as people with no understanding of Clark and what his existence represents. While Clark confides in his mother about his predicament, Lois gets the bullets examined, revealing that the metal isn't known, and theorizes that the rebels in Africa could have been used as test subjects for the bullets. Clark would then research about the bat brands, finding out that whoever has the brand is killed by the inmate. It's in the prisons the criminals with the brands end up in. Meanwhile, the trafficker with the bat brand is brought into Metropolis Prison, while Wallace is set free thanks to the influence of Lex Luthor, who approaches him with a proposition. The next day, Wallace meets with Senator Finch, wanting to share his story. Back at Metropolis Prison, the trafficker ultimately gets killed for having the bat brand, just like he feared. Lois then goes to General Swanwick, who sadly believes that while Superman might not have killed someone, is directly responsible for what happened in Africa and blames Lois as well. Perry then confronts Clark on chasing the Batman story and tells him to drop it. Meanwhile, at a fancy event, Bruce confronts the woman in red from Lex's gala. The woman reveals that Lex has a photo that belongs to her, which is why she stole Bruce's device. Despite their tension, there is a bit of charm in their conversation. Back at the Batcave, Bruce begins decrypting the data, which is showing that it's going to take a long while before it's done. Meanwhile, in some distant future, a post-apocalyptic Batman is seen exiting a bunker and looks on to witness an Omega symbol on the distant ground in front of a destroyed city. Whether it's Gotham or Metropolis, it doesn't seem to matter. Batman then notices an armored school bus in the distance, with armed gunners inside. Batman then meets up with the survivors, only to reveal that they have kryptonite. However, Batman would then open the crate to reveal that there is nothing in it, and that it was a trap set up by the gunners in order to survive. Just then, soldiers brandishing the Superman symbol like a police officer patch reveal themselves, holding Batman at gunpoint. The soldiers then kill the survivors, leading Batman to act. After the fight, groups of demonic bug-like soldiers appear to aid the Superman soldiers and capture Batman. Moments later, Batman would be imprisoned in a bunker, and Superman would appear, with the Superman soldiers bowing to him. Superman then approaches Batman, kills the remaining survivors, and unmasks him, stating that she, seemingly Lois, was his world and that Bruce took her from him. Superman then pushes his hand into Batman, seemingly killing him. However, Bruce would wake up, but witness the appearance of a young man in reddish armor, surrounded by a portal of lightning and energy, stating that Lois is the key, but asks if he's too early. The last thing the person in red says is that Bruce has to fear Superman and find them. Bruce wakes up for real this time, finding that the data is finally decrypted. Meanwhile, Clark begins investigating Batman's latest victim, the trafficker who was killed. Bruce then discovers that the White Portuguese, a name that Bruce learned while investigating KG Beast, is the name of a ship. Bruce then tells Alfred that the ship is carrying none other than kryptonite, the only weapon that can kill Superman. Alfred tries to reason with Bruce to not use the kryptonite against Superman and convince him that Superman is not the enemy, but Bruce's fear gets the better of him, and it falls on deaf ears. Alfred then tells Bruce that Batman used to stand for something in Gotham as much as Superman stands for something in Metropolis, and that Selina believed that. However, Bruce retaliates by stating that she was wrong the moment he lost someone that meant more to him than she did. Not wanting to have any part in the death of Superman, Alfred refuses to help Bruce with this one, with Bruce stating that he'll do it on his own. Clark then goes to the prison in order to learn about the trafficker, whose name is Santos. Clark then meets his girlfriend, who doesn't condone his actions, but states that he was still a father who didn't deserve to die, revealing that Gotham and Metropolis prisons let the Batman decide who lives and who dies. Back at the Daily Planet, Perry tries to confront Clark, but Clark is nowhere to be found. At the docks of Metropolis or Gotham, I honestly don't know which, Batman makes his attempt to steal the kryptonite from KG Beast and his men. Batman places a tracer on the cargo truck in order to chase it down in his Batmobile. Just as Batman gets close to the cargo truck, Superman confronts and intercepts him, breaking his Batmobile in the process. The two look at each other face to face. Superman then warns Batman not to answer his bat signal anymore, and to bury the Batman. Batman then asks Superman if he bleeds, to which Superman just flies away in response. But then Batman states, "You will." Batman returns to the Batcave, where he then locates the cargo truck where they place the kryptonite, at X-Corp Research Park. That night, Lois meets up with General Swanwick again, who decides to look into the origin of the bullet she found. Meanwhile, Senator Finch invites Superman to a council to discuss his supposed actions in the desert via news conference. Clark once again confides in his mother, who encourages Clark to be the beacon he was meant to be, to a world that he doesn't owe anything to. In the streets of Gotham, the pleading woman then notices KG Beast and his men at the front of her home, to which she decides to find Senator Finch and tell her the truth, which was that she was lying about Superman's involvement in what happened in Africa. Lois and Swanwick then meet up again, with Swanwick revealing that LexCorp developed the bullet, and reveals that it was a ploy to ambush Superman. Lois then realizes that she was the bait for him. Wallace is then interviewed by the news and tries to turn the public against Superman, convinced that the invasion was his fault. Meanwhile, Bruce is witnessing the event live on his television, and Lois is attempting to have Perry run the true story about Superman being framed. Back at City Hall, Finch gets ready for the meeting, but is intercepted by Lex Luthor. Bruce then finds out that Wallace hasn't been receiving victim checks, to which Bruce is given with writings to Bruce. Clark's mother also witnesses the event live on TV from the diner she works at. At a train station, the pleading woman is pushed into a moving train by KG Beast in order to get rid of any loose ends for Lex. Meanwhile, Lois arrives at City Hall, while Superman also arrives to quell the fears of the people. As the conference begins and Superman stands before the people, Finch stands against Superman's unconsented actions. However, Finch then notices that Lex's chair is vacant, not attending the council, making her realize that something's wrong. Just then, a bomb from Wallace's new wheelchair given to him by Lex Luthor goes off and kills almost everyone inside the building. As Bruce looks upon this event, Bruce then looks at a newspaper article about the invasion at Metropolis, with Wallace having seemingly written he let his family die. This also revealing that at the building that was destroyed in Metropolis was Wayne Towers. This event making Bruce believe that Superman is solely irresponsible for what just happened. As Lois enters the scene, Superman helps evacuate the survivors, but looks at the dead he failed to save. Superman then decides to fly off in despair. Alfred arrives at Bruce's penthouse, only to discover what happened at the Senate meeting. That night, Lex Luthor arrives at LexCorp, only to discover from security recording that Batman stole the kryptonite deposit and replaced it with Batarang, with him realizing that Batman is out to kill Superman. Superman then meets up with Lois, believing that Superman is just a dream on Earth, and that he is no symbol. But Lois tries to convince him otherwise, to sadly no avail. Meanwhile, Lex Luthor uses Zod's fingerprints to enter the Kryptonian ship's command center, as it's flooded with alien liquids. Lex then inserts the Kryptonian key into the console, allowing him to gain access to and full control of the Kryptonian ship. As Bruce is training and preparing the Kryptonite spear for his upcoming battle with Superman, Bruce discovers the kind of data Lex Luthor had stored in his servers. Bruce would find pictures and recordings of the woman in red, as well as an old picture of her from World War I, but as a warrior-looking woman wearing a type of tiara. Back at the Kryptonian ship, Lex brings in the body of General Zod, followed by Lex placing his own blood onto the body. Lex then has the computer meld his DNA with Zod's DNA, beginning the mutation of Zod's body into something that the Council of Krypton deems a deformity so hateful to sight and memory. Meanwhile, the world continues to find ways of blaming Superman for the incident at the Senate, with his supporters looking at the news in horror. Meanwhile, Bruce visits Wayne Manor, a place that was burned down by the Joker during their first ever battle. Alfred tries to convince Bruce not to go through with it, but Bruce believes that all that matters is to protect the future of the world from people like Superman. Back in Smallville, KG Beast kidnaps Clark's mother. Meanwhile in Gotham, Batman shines the bat signal, waiting for Superman as Batman is donning a new high-tech armor and has the kryptonite spear on standby. Lex Luthor then calls someone from the top of a helipad from LexCorp Tower, informing them that Batman has arrived. Meanwhile, KG Beast kidnaps Lois Lane, seemingly at the order of Lex Luthor. Lois is taken straight to Lex Luthor at the helipad. Lex asks Lois to forgive him as he's admired her and her fiery spirit for a good story for a long time. Lex then questions her about the discovery of the metal of the bullet she found, as well as tells her that her story about him will be like dust in the wind. Lex then explains how his path to Superman is the woman he loves, followed by one of Lex Luthor's men pushing Lois off the building. As Lois is falling, Superman arrives to save her and place her on the ground safely. Superman confronts Lex Luthor, only for Lex to reveal that he's captured his mother Martha Kent, which angers Superman. Lex then monologues about how Superman has made society weak, and that he realized that the suffering abuse of his father, that if God is all-powerful, he cannot be all good, and if he is all good, then he cannot be all-powerful. Lex goes on to explain to Superman that his presence has weakened humanity and doesn't want them relying on false gods to ease their suffering. Lex then gives Superman the ultimate ultimatum: fight Batman to the death in Gotham or his mother will die. Lex also reveals that he intercepted Wallace's X just to put Superman on Batman's radar, which also reveals that Lex Luthor knows that Batman is Bruce Wayne. Not having much choice, Superman goes to Gotham, but not to fight Batman, but to plead for his help. Meanwhile, KG Beast and his men guard Martha and start a timer for how long Superman has to kill Batman. Lightning from the Kryptonian ship can also be seen from the Daily Planet, with the Warrior Woman also noticing on TV. Superman tells Lois he has to go to Gotham, and that no one is good in this world. Meanwhile, the Warrior Woman looks at her computer, finding that Bruce sent her the data he took from Luthor. The woman then looks at what Lex calls his metahuman research, and discovers the existence of a man with super speed, a man who can breathe underwater, and what appears to be a dead person being reconstructed into a cyborg, was created by a strange cybernetic bot. Back at Gotham, Batman waits for Superman while Lois gets a chopper from Perry in order to get to Gotham. Superman arrives and tries to talk to Batman, but his words fall on deaf ears as Batman takes every measure to defeat and kill Superman. In the middle of the battle, Superman still tries to talk to Bruce, but then Batman shoots a kryptonite smoke grenade at him, weakening Superman. Batman then taunts Superman about feeling fear, followed by Batman continuing to beat down on Superman. As the battle rages, both Batman and Superman continue to get the upper hand on each other, until Batman decides to use more kryptonite gas in order to beat Superman. After throwing Superman down a flight of stairs, Batman drags Superman and then throws him through the columns of the building they're fighting in. Batman expresses how while Superman may have been told by his parents that he was special, Batman was taught by his parents that the world only makes sense if you force it to. Lois then arrives at Gotham to find Superman. As Batman has Superman at his mercy and holds the kryptonite spear, he claims that Superman was never a god and was never even a man. As Batman holds up the spear to kill Superman, Lois hits Batman's face with a pipe, causing him to back up. Lois stands ready to fight for Superman to the death. Batman warns Lois to get out of the way so he can kill this thing. However, Lois proudly states that his name is Clark Kent, a boy raised on a small farm in Smallville, Kansas, whose only crime is wanting to help those he knows will always fear him. Batman yells for Lois to shut up and move, but she just keeps repeating herself proudly, enraging Batman. As Bruce begins to lose himself in anger, he then has a flashback of a young boy named Dick Grayson, who's holding a fearful man at gunpoint. Suddenly, Batman appears in between him and Dick's target, attempting to convince Dick that vengeance isn't the same as justice. Dick does everything he can to convince Batman to move, even threatens to shoot him, as the man who's lying on the floor scared is the man who murdered his parents. But Batman speaks as Bruce for a moment, telling Dick that his parents would want him to live a life unconsumed by vengeance, untainted by bloodshed. Batman states that while it's too late for him to escape the dark, Dick still has a chance to become the heart of Gotham, something Batman admits that he himself can never be. In the end, Batman hugs Dick while the fearful man still trembles in fear. We then see flashes of Dick's training and eventual becoming of Robin, to which we then see them take on various criminals together. However, the ending flash forward shows a bloodied Robin with a flash of the Joker, played by Jared Leto, laughing. The flashes then end in the present, where Batman sees Lois as a reflection of himself trying to stop Robin from falling into the same path. Batman looks at the spear in hand, realizing what he has become, the very thing he swore never to become. This causes Batman to shed a tear. Angered at himself, Batman tosses the spear aside, returning to becoming the symbol of hope that Gotham hadn't had in a long time. Meanwhile, people converge around the Kryptonian ship site as it continues to generate lightning, while KG Beast and his men prepare themselves to kill Martha, as time is running out. Superman then relays everything to Batman, prompting the two to enter a truce and work together to stop Lex Luthor and save Superman's mother, Martha Kent. Batman promises that he'll save Martha, while Superman intends to let X at the Kryptonian ship. Alfred then informs Batman that KG Beast is in a warehouse near Gotham Port. Batman arrives via Batwing and attempts to deal with the groups of gunmen outside. Alfred then remotely controls the Batwing, letting Batman enter the warehouse, followed by Batman defeating the henchmen in what I describe as the best Batman fight scene in the world. As KG Beast and his last man prepare for Batman's attack, Batman goes through the wall and aims the last henchman's gun at KG Beast. But KG Beast holds a flamethrower at Martha, having the two of them reach an impasse. KG Beast warns Batman to drop the weapon, but Batman then decides to shoot the flamethrower's tank, instantly charging in order to cover Martha from the explosion. Meanwhile, Lois finds a place to hide the kryptonite spear where no one will find it. Lex then checks the timer, finding that Superman's time has run out, but is also disappointed to find that Superman had found a way out of the ultimatum as Superman arrives at the Kryptonian ship. Lex attempts to inform Superman of Martha's death, but finds that it's Batman on the other end of the line, confirming that his plan's just been thwarted. Lex admits that he's underestimated Superman, but he will not allow his existence to poison humanity's resolve any further. Superman claims that Lex has lost, but Lex states that he doesn't know how to lose. Lex then explains that he doesn't hate the sinner, only the sin, and that Superman's sin is existing. Lex Luthor then claims that if man cannot kill God, then the devil will do it. Just then, energy begins to radiate from a cocoon within the command center of the Kryptonian ship, formed from Zod's body and Luthor's DNA. Lex then presents none other than what he calls Superman's Doomsday. As Doomsday looks upon Luthor, he instantly attempts to kill him, but Superman stops Doomsday's fist. This intervention would lead to a battle between Superman and Doomsday. one that they would take to the city of Metropolis at Superman's statue. Doomsday then jumps to the top of LexCorp Tower after knocking Superman away. Just then, police converge, retrieving Martha as the Batwing leaves to help Superman stop Doomsday. Meanwhile, the Warrior Woman is packing to leave Metropolis by plane, only to see the news report of Doomsday attacking Metropolis. As authorities attempt to deal with Doomsday, he retaliates, and his powers begin to evolve to a point where Doomsday can unleash an energy surge powerful enough to damage the city. As Batman is relayed the info from Alfred about Doomsday, the Warrior Woman, now identified as Miss Prince, leaves the plane for a seemingly unknown reason. Back at Metropolis, Superman then attempts to take Doomsday into space. Meanwhile, the government, by order of the President, gets ready to launch a nuclear missile at both Superman and Doomsday, much to Swanwick and his seconds' protest. The missile is launched as Superman takes Doomsday higher and higher into space, ultimately getting hit by the nuclear warhead. Batman and the people of Metropolis see the explosive sight in the sky, and see something drop down into Stryker's Island. The government sees no sign of Superman, but assumes that Doomsday died on impact, a thought that would be immediately vanquished the moment Doomsday stands up again. Doomsday would then begin to transform into his comic-accurate appearance, beginning to radiate energy, as well as shoot a heat vision beam greater than Superman's. Swanwick realizes that with every attack, it only makes Doomsday stronger, declaring Doomsday unkillable. Batman appears on Stryker's Island, catching Doomsday in his sights, who then blasts the Batwing with heat vision, knocking Batman out of the sky. Bruce then relays to Alfred that the Kryptonite Spear is the only weapon that can kill Doomsday, and so attempts to lead Doomsday back to Gotham. Meanwhile, as Superman floats through space, the sun begins to shine on him, revitalizing him with solar energy. Back at Gotham, Batman does all he can to avoid Doomsday until he brings down the Batwing. As Doomsday's heat vision goes for Batman, a familiar person protects him from the blast. The person is revealed to be none other than Miss Prince, who in truth is none other than Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman uses the shockwave from her bracers to push Doomsday back, followed by Superman pushing Doomsday away into a building. Just then, Lois then realizes that Doomsday is Kryptonian, and so returns to the abandoned building in order to retrieve the Kryptonite spear she hid. Batman relays the info to Wonder Woman just as Lois searches for the spear. Wonder Woman states that Doomsday feeds on energy, with Superman stating that Doomsday is from another world, his world. Wonder Woman claims she's killed things from other worlds before, prompting the funny moment between Superman and Batman, who both thought she was with the other person. The Trinity then readies themselves for battle as Doomsday unleashes more destructive energy, causing Lois to be trapped under the water where the spear is. Wonder Woman and Superman deal with Doomsday while Batman attempts to locate the spear. Meanwhile, Lois tries to find a way out of her trapped underwater situation as Superman and Doomsday clash heat vision beams, with Doomsday coming out on top. Just as Lois is about to drown, Superman saves her in time amongst the rubble, and then attempts to retrieve the spear himself despite his weakness toward it. Batman then attempts to evade Doomsday with his grappling hook alone. Superman then floats up to the top of the water, weakened by the spear. Superman looks on as Wonder Woman struggles to defeat Doomsday despite her cleaving his arm off. After knocking Wonder Woman away, Doomsday then forms a spike weapon where his right hand used to be. Superman then tells Lois that he loves her, making Lois realize what he's about to do, much to her protest. Superman declares that Lois is his world, followed by him taking the Kryptonite spear and charging at Doomsday, his cape getting ripped off by a stationary pipe he quickly passed. Wonder Woman attempts to hold Doomsday with her lasso of Hestia, followed by Batman shooting his last Kryptonite gas bomb at Doomsday, weakening him in the process. Despite the pain, Superman drives the spear straight into Doomsday's chest, but Doomsday retaliates with his hand spike, driving it into Superman's heart. Superman then decides to push himself straight through Doomsday's weapon in order to drive the Kryptonite spear straight through Doomsday. The pain of the spike through Superman's chest causing him to echo a loud death shriek before the two die simultaneously. Batman, Lois, and Wonder Woman approach the deceased Clark Kent, with Batman crossing his arms in respect. Batman then lowers Clark's body down as Lois holds him and mourns the love of her life. giving his head one last kiss. Batman approaches the scene, witnessing the death of a hero. Superman's cape floats in the wind, cementing that would be forever known as the death of Superman. Army men then enter the Kryptonian ship, only to find Lex Luthor in the presence of an image of a horned figure holding 3 distinct boxes, foreshadowing a dark event to come. Back in prison, Lex Luthor is placed in a cell. Meanwhile, papers of Superman's death are printed, with the death of Clark Kent also being reported as a casualty of the battle, as well as Lex Luthor's arrest, putting LexCorp in an odd position. We see the city of Metropolis mourn for Superman. Shops and businesses is closed for people in memoriam of his death. Back in Smallville, the funeral of Clark Kent has passed by. Perry in attendance, and Martha leaving a picture of Jonathan Kent beside the body of her son. Martha then approaches Lois in Clark's room, giving her a package from Clark that was meant to be a surprise. Lois opens the package to find an engagement ring, realizing that Clark was gonna ask her to marry him. Lois puts the ring on, proving her devotion and love to Clark. In both Metropolis and Smallville, the funeral was or their ceremony, with Metropolis having a funeral for Superman and with Swanwick in attendance, while Smallville has a funeral for Clark Kent. Superman is given a soldier's funeral and a custom casket with a symbol engraved on it. After the funeral, Martha discovers that an anonymous donor paid for everything, not knowing that it was Bruce Wayne. Meanwhile, as Lois looks down at Clark's grave, Bruce looks on from a distance with Miss Prince joining him. Bruce expresses how he failed Clark in life, but doesn't want to fail him in death, and so asks Miss Prince to help him find other metahumans like her, despite Miss Prince stating that they might not want to be found. Bruce, however, believes that they'll fight due to Superman's inspiration. Miss Prince then expresses how she turned her back on mankind, believing that a united world is impossible due to humanity's true nature. While Bruce explains the complexity of humanity and its true potential to make a better world, the people of Metropolis stand at Superman's memorial, now where his destroyed statue sits. The memorial states that if you seek this monument, then look around you. Miss Prince then asks why Bruce said that at the metahumans will have to fight, with Bruce replying that it's just a feeling. Miss Prince then takes her leave. Back in Metropolis prison, guards inform Luthor that the warden wants to speak with him, and as Luthor prepares to be restrained, he notices the light going out. Luthor then turns to find the Batman in front of him. Batman attempts to warn Lex Luthor that he'll be watching him, but Lex retorts by stating that for some reason, he's been deemed insane, not even fit to stand trial despite his calm composure. Batman then reveals that he's arranged Lex to be transported to Arkham Asylum in Gotham, with Batman stating that he's still got friends there. However, Lex then gives Batman a warning about a coming threat that he learned about on the Kryptonian ship. Batman then brands the wall, refusing to fall into his path of hatred any longer. Luthor then shouts to a now missing Batman that he wants war, and he's coming, and that once again, Superman's existence is what has brought them. Back at Luthor's house, police come to find his demons and angels painting upside down, depicting demons coming from the sky, foreshadowing the looming threat to come. As Bruce leaves the graveyard, Lois places the last bit of soil on Clark's coffin, followed by her taking her leave. Back at the coffin, the soil pieces begin to float, signifying a coming miracle. A post-credit scene then plays, showing a decimated planet with those insect-like soldiers surrounding every corner. Suddenly, a particular ringing sound is heard, catching the attention of the insect soldiers. Just then, the sound travels to what appears to be a pile of bodies of aliens, with a couple of green lanterns in the pile. We then see the turned back of a familiar horned individual. As the horned individual turns to reveal his monstrous face, he looks on with a surprised expression, stating that they have finally awakened. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to check out our merch store, Buy Me a Coffee page, and Amazon affiliate link linked in the description and pinned comment below. so you can help us expand the channel and give you guys higher quality content. Also, if you want to check out our original content, be sure to check out the playlists linked in the description below. With all that said and done, I'm JT Anime, and I'll check you guys later.